Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on automating your NetSuite end-of-month reporting in Excel or Google Sheets with Coefficient. I'm so excited to be presenting today. Let me just give a quick rundown of who I am, what Coefficient does, and then we'll dive straight into a spreadsheet. I know that's what you all came here to see. You'll see here, my name is Frank Ferris, and my title is Spreadsheet Engineer. I bet that's the first time you've come across that title, but I take a lot of pride in it. Basically, it means I'm an expert in both spreadsheets and the Coefficient product itself. I get the joy of working with a lot of our largest customers on strategic use cases for how to get more value out of Coefficient, how to save more time for their analysts or financial teams or operations team by automating more of their mundane tasks, especially CSV exports into spreadsheets. I have over 10 years of experience working in data analytics and spreadsheets before I came across Coefficient. So basically, I spent most of my career manually exporting CSVs, and I hated every part of it. And that's what led me to find Coefficient about 4 years ago. And it was just such a game changer for me in that role, where I was constantly exporting data, especially from Salesforce into Google Sheets at the time. And I found Coefficient and just wanted to be an advocate for it and spread the word. And that's what I'm doing today on the demo. If you haven't heard of Coefficient before, I think we have some power users joining the call. We also have many of you that are probably hearing about us for the first time. So welcome. Coefficient at its core is an extension for both Google Sheets and Excel. We can automatically fetch data from NetSuite and 100 plus other systems like Salesforce, your data warehouses, Stripe, QuickBooks, whatever else you imagine. Set that up to automatically refresh data into Excel or Google Sheets. Basically, we're trying to kill the task of doing copying and paste or manually exporting CSVs. We're a group of spreadsheet enthusiasts and just trying to bring spreadsheets into the 21st century, give you all a better experience where you work day to day. We also have Victoria on the call and a few other members of the team. They'll be fielding questions, so feel free to chime in the chat at any point in time. They'll answer you in the chat, or they'll surface questions to me to answer live. Let's kick it off with a little icebreaker so I don't feel like I'm alone on the call here. I'd love to hear from some of you. Where are you joining from today? And how long does your month end close in your organization? How long does it take? I'm joining from beautiful Toronto, Canada today, but normally I'm based out of San Francisco, where we have our main Coefficient office. Drop it in the chat. We'd love to hear. How long does it take? You can tell me in hours, days, weeks, hopefully not months. Let me know, and that'll help us tailor the conversation. Don't be embarrassed by your answer. We know it can take a lot of time to do month end close. That's why we're all here today. So if it takes a while, that's not too bad. I'm mostly worried about the people that aren't on this session today because they're still dealing with September's month end close. And it's October 16th now. And you know what, they probably have a day in between, and then they'll start prepping for October month end close tomorrow. So as long as you're not in that boat, you're in a decent situation. But wherever you are in your journey, hopefully we can make it a little bit better. All right, and as you're dropping in those answers, I'll quickly tell you that part of why I wanted to run this webinar was because I was recently helping one of our newer customers out who's looking for some data automation, specifically for financial reporting, month-end close, financial forecast modeling, compensation planning, and so on. This was with a CFO of a specialty coffee brand. Many of you have probably come across them, Methodical Coffee, and basically, margins can be razor thin in that type of industry. It's very hard to justify, spending $25,000 on a tool that tells you it does your month end for you. It's hard to justify hiring 3 more accountants or analysts to do the work. So this CFO found most of his finance team was already working in Excel. It's where they're most comfortable. And they just set up automatic imports into that Excel workbook and basically get that month end reporting and other financial reporting down, cut down the amount of time it took drastically. So that's what we're trying to help you all do today. Quick agenda. So we're going to look at the anatomy of a manual close and then basically just get right into the live demo. And we'll have question period at the end. But again, feel free to drop in questions in the chat anytime as you have them. All right, here's a little diagram of what your month-end close probably looks like today. So on the left, you have all these tools that you yourselves are working with in finance, also other business tools that other stakeholders on your team are probably using that you also need data from. Month-end close isn't usually just NetSuite data. It's usually reconciling it with your Salesforce data, with other business systems to make sure everything matches up at the end of the month. So on the left here, we have all these other systems. So CRMs like Salesforce and HubSpot, maybe banking data, maybe data warehouse information coming from Snowflake, Looker, Redshift, other SaaS tools like Shopify, Stripe. And while we're at it, I'd love to hear from all of you. Maybe what are some of the tools that you're finding during month-end close you most often try to combine with NetSuite data, or for other financial reporting needs besides month-end close as well? Are you working with Salesforce? Is it some of those other SaaS tools I mentioned? Is it a custom internal tool? We have a solution for that as well we can get into. Drop it in the chat. Again, that'll help me just tailor the demo a little bit towards what we hear most of. And we have a big group attending today. We had over 100 registrants and lots of people joining live. All kinds of different industries, not-for-profit, large corporations, small startups. You all have a different month-end process, different tools, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of overlap. So that's the left-hand side of this slide. And then usually in the middle, you're probably working in Excel or Google Sheets. That's where you types of people thrive, and myself too. I'm in that group. And then on the right side is where you push in that data. So you do the reconciliation, try to clean up things. You're going back into those systems, back into Salesforce or QuickBooks or Shopify, clean up your data, make sure all the numbers match up. And that's really why we're here today, because, let's be honest, manual month-end close isn't just no fun, but truly we find it's a drain on time, energy, morale. It's the process that finance teams love to hate. And you all have much more important work you could probably be doing if we could save you a few hours or days at the end or the start of each month. And then we're going to jump right into an Excel workbook and do this live demo. This is high level what I'll be covering today. And then we can cover some additional points in the question period as well. So with that, let's jump into a clean Excel workbook. Nothing like a fresh blank workbook to start the day. Here we are. Once you've installed Coefficient from the Microsoft add-in store or the Google Sheets Marketplace, we will live in the top of your spreadsheet. So in Excel, you'll always find us in this top ribbon. I'll show you a bit later where we are in Google Sheets, but basically the same place. And I'm mostly going to focus on Excel today because we know that's what the finance users that use Coefficient, most of them still love Excel. No shame if you're on the Google Sheets side. Myself, I grew up on Excel, but nowadays I prefer Google Sheets for most of my day-to-day work, sometimes back in Excel if I'm doing some really heavy analysis or modeling. If you feel like it, drop it in the chat. What do you use, Excel, Google Sheets? I know it's controversial, but any answer is good. Or a lot of our customers end up using both systems at the end of the day, depending on how complex their work is. All right, back to the Excel ribbon. You'll find Coefficient at the top here. Quick access buttons, we have a global customer support team if you ever need help troubleshooting. Some quick access buttons like refreshing all sheets at once, but really the core action is open sidebar if you want to create a new data import into your Excel workbook. So here we're going to go import from, and obviously we're going to start off with NetSuite. So I'm going to choose that as my data source up here. You can see all the other ones show up here. It'll be a similar experience across the board. And when you're importing from NetSuite, it's as simple as copying and pasting in a URL. So let's choose import from URL. And now I have to put in a URL, obviously from my NetSuite account. So I've got a NetSuite sandbox open here. Let's go to the homepage of my sandbox and let's find a report we want to import. So what I love about Coefficient NetSuite connector is you can really import any report you can find in NetSuite. You can get that data set up as a live import into Excel or Sheets. If you've experimented with other spreadsheet connecting tools in the past, you've probably noticed it's quite limited. You might be able to import saved searches or some specific things like that. Coefficient is the first and only spreadsheet connector that can actually import any of your financial reports and any of your custom reports. So really powerful. It's been a frequently asked question before we supported this. This is just, at the end of the day, this is the data that people are looking for. And so we gave it to them. So we'll start off with some standard financial reports. Let's get in here. I'm going to kick it off with a balance sheet. So let's choose this one. And here we go, we get that view. So I could just copy and paste this URL. That's all I need. But let's get back to our use case, month-end close. So let's change this period. So right now it's last fiscal quarter. I'm going to do last period. And my periods are the default monthly periods. all of you are NetSuite power users, I bet, so you'll probably be familiar with changing a date here. It'll dynamically update the actual date or range of dates you're looking at in this other section. So we're mid-October, we're doing September month-end close. A little late for that. Hopefully we started on the first of the month, but let's go with it. So once I'm happy with that, my settings, I will just copy this URL from the top here. And let's jump back into Excel. I'm gonna paste that URL I just copied. And let's click import. And you can see coefficients creating a new tab in our Excel workbook. And we'll see the data coming in momentarily. Alrighty, there we go. This, at a high level, is what every coefficient import will look like. So we try to have a similar look and feel across all of our connectors. So whether it's yourself or other colleagues looking at coefficient data, it's always familiar, whether it's Salesforce, NetSuite, anything else. So in cell A1, you'll always be able to see when was it last refreshed. This will change dynamically over time. So let's say an hour ago, a day ago, and so on. And then your data coming in down below. Coefficient will add some formatting automatically for you to make it just a little bit nicer. You can obviously overwrite this. So you can manually change the formatting, change the euros if you want, if it's not already like that, or put conditional formatting, whatever you want. That'll all persist over time as your data refreshes every day or once a month, depending on the use case. You're probably going to want to add calculated fields to your import. That's half the reason you're getting the data into Excel in the first place. So we recommend just adding those to the right-hand side of your import. I can just do a simple formula example here. And we'll just drag that down once. And now the beauty of this is coefficient will know there's a formula here. So as my data set refreshes, if I refresh it next month and there's some new accounts included, coefficient will automatically drag down these formulas just to make sure my entire table is covered, give you more confidence in your data. So your pivot tables, your dashboards, whatever you're building is always live, up to date, and accurate. All right, let's go back to NetSuite quickly, and we'll do another example while we're at it. So we have our balance sheet. That's helpful for month-end close. Let's get another one though. Let's do an income statement, probably useful. Income statement up here. Again, I'm going to set this to last period. I'll do all these for last month. Obviously, that's a theme of today. That you can imagine, you can do the exact same thing for quarter end, and so on. So jump back into Excel, create a new import, paste that in, and coefficient will drop that into a new tab. The beautiful part is using that dynamic time frame. So I've set last period. I could have hard coded in, September 1st to September 30th if I wanted to. The last period dynamic date is a really great option because it will make sure that as soon as we get into the new month, so as soon as it's November 1st, I just click refresh and I'll be able to see all of my reports for October. So that's really the goal of what we're trying to get to with today's session. It's dynamic update, so it's always referencing the month that you're interested in. Okay, back to NetSuite. We don't need to do more of these examples. I think everyone gets the gist of how it works, but I'll show you quickly in a second. We'll also have a cash flow statement coming in, very useful in a month. You can also do saved searches. So another popular use case, getting something like this here, we've basically reconstructed a profit and loss statement as a saved search. I love saved searches when I want to be able to drill into my data in Excel. So if I don't just want a summary report in Excel, if I want all the underlying transactions or account details, I'm typically going to build a saved search in NetSuite. And from there, it's the exact same. You just copy this URL, paste it into coefficient, and you'll get basically the view of this, same as if you exported the CSV, but on an automated schedule. You can also do larger reports. So you have a general ledger, many more columns than those simple reports we started with. You can also do all of this as well. Very common if you might save multiple custom versions of a general ledger or something with different time periods, filtered on different subsidiaries, different accounts, whatever it may be. And you just copy and paste that URL over each time you want to get that import coming in. All right, so move from this quiet Excel sheet with not too much happening, And if this was a cooking demo, this would be the portion of the show where I put the cake in the oven and pull out a fully baked cake. So let's switch. I've got another Excel workbook opened up here that has much more going on. As you can see, we have a balance sheet with just a bit more data coming in, the calculated field. Last month income statement with some cool variance checking formulas here I'll explain in a second. We've got that cash flow statement. We've got our general ledger just to see what that looks like. And then a saved search P&L. This is, again, that raw data. This is great if you want to build a pivot table or something and you want more than just a summary data. All right. Let's open up Coefficient again so you can see what this looks like. And this is where it becomes more relevant, where I can refresh current sheet. So whatever tab I'm actively viewing, I can just refresh this now. You can also do refresh all. This is probably what you'll do on the first of the month. You'll just come in, click refresh all once. You might have 4 NetSuite imports, maybe a couple Salesforce or other imports. One refresh button refreshes every data source in this Excel workbook. You can see here, these are all the sample imports that I've already set up in this particular workbook. I can click into any of them if I want to make edits or change the refresh schedule. We click into our P&L, for example. This is an important piece I didn't really show earlier, is you can set this up on automatic refresh schedule. Most likely for end of month reporting, you won't use this feature. You'll probably want manual control. You'll probably use a refresh all button like this. For other types of reporting where you want more real-time data, that's where you come in here, set a refresh schedule. It can be, internally, I often set these once a day at 5 a.m. So it's just live up to date by the time I'm online. But really, you do it as frequently as once every hour if you have a really time sensitive report that you're building. And this works across all of our connectors. So I can even click in here and set a refresh schedule. Set all of these to refresh at a given time of day. And of course, that'll work with Excel workbooks saved online. So if they're saved on OneDrive or SharePoint, that's where you can set them to refresh anytime, even if you're not at your computer necessarily. But desktop files, you can always refresh manually with a refresh button. All right. So we've got some NetSuite data coming into our spreadsheet. You might have seen I already have some Salesforce data also coming in, and that's where we can get into the actual reconciliation work. So let's move over to our last month income statement. This would be a common place you're probably doing reconciliations from. Here we can see our regular last month income statement. So it's all set previous month, right? So it's filtering on September. What was the income statement for September? And now I want to check, does my income for September actually match what Salesforce shows? I'll stick with Salesforce. It's a popular example for a lot of our customers. Hopefully you can imagine how this would also apply to HubSpot or Stripe or Shopify, other tools you might want to reconcile with. So before we look at that formula, let's look at our Salesforce data. I won't spend too much time on it. We're going to mostly focus today on NetSuite, obviously, but you have a few ways of importing data from Salesforce. You can import an existing report that you've already set up in Salesforce. Let's take a quick look at what that looks like. I click import from Salesforce. Any report I have access to, I just choose it here, click import. It'll drop a new tab in our spreadsheet with that report data. The more powerful option that I prefer, a lot of our advanced users like, is just importing what we call from objects and fields, where instead of using an existing report, you basically build a report in Coefficient. So you can pick and choose whatever fields and filters you want. Tons of flexibility. And the best part is you don't have to worry about your colleagues deleting a report in Salesforce or editing it, which will have downstream effects in Excel. So that's just to show what it looks like. But I've already set up a couple of these Salesforce imports ahead of the call using that secondary method I mentioned. So from objects and fields. So here I thought I want to import from my opportunities object, so all of my sales opportunities or deals coming in, along with all of these details, including the account name. The close date is important to do last month close dates, and it's filtering on only closed won deals, and looking at the amount field, of course. Pro tip I love, especially with Salesforce, but really you can do this with your NetSuite invoices, anything else as well, is hyperlinking it back into the data source. So I've written a little hyperlink formula here, you can see, and now let's see if that might be an invalid opportunity. Let's try another one. There we go. This makes it so much more user-friendly if you're going to send this to a sales manager to make edits. They don't have to click around. They can just click a little link and edit the close date, stage, whatever in Salesforce from Excel. So this is like a raw data set from Salesforce. Again, this is like a saved search. It's great if you want to build pivot tables or powerful analysis in Excel. You can see here I built a simple pivot table showing my sales by year, and I can drill into months for that if I want to find September details by opportunity type. So is it new business, existing, blank, and so on. Second way to accomplish something very similar is instead of importing this as a raw detailed data set from Salesforce, I can tell Coefficient, actually just import this as a summarized data set, basically a pivot table within Coefficient. So there's no raw underlying data here. This is just a clean, small summary table that's showing something similar. Total sales won, grouped by months as rows, and then grouped by opportunity type as columns. And we'll get to this in a second, but lots of money in the blank column, and that's probably something we're going to need to clean up before we can close out the month. I've added, again, a simple calculated formula here just to get the sum of all of these categories across the board for each month. Now that we know what our Salesforce data looks like, let's go back into our income statement. So here you can see we have our income broken down by those same sales categories: new, existing, new business, add-on. No blank category because we don't want blank categories. And then here I've created a simple XLOOKUP formula. If you're still using VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, that's fine, but I recommend checking out XLOOKUP. It's the latest and greatest thing. It works very similarly. So I'm just looking up this titled new business in this case on that Salesforce summary table we just looked at. Get the amount for September, and then I have a variance formula here to see what's the difference between Salesforce and NetSuite. Perfect use case for month-end reporting, right? $40,000 difference in new business. So where's this coming from? You all know your own unique business as well. You probably have a pretty good idea of what kind of mistakes someone might have made or why things might not add up. And let's jump back over to Salesforce and see what that $40,000 might be coming from. So here on my opportunity details tab, I have all the opportunities. You'll see I also added a formula that'll check. That'll do basically a sum ifs on my NetSuite saved search of all of my sales by account, and then I'm doing a simple sum ifs for account name and close date to get deals in the same month. So this makes it super easy. You can already see we've already found that 40,000. We like to say that traditionally reconciliation is kind of like an adult version of Where's Waldo, except that Waldo is a single rogue transaction from 3 weeks ago, and he's not wearing a striped shirt. Makes it tough to find. Hopefully Coefficient can make it a little bit easier than finding Where's Waldo. If you set up some formulas like this, again, this is where it takes a few minutes to set this up as a one-time thing. But now I have this formula live. My NetSuite report updates on the first of the month when I click refresh all. My Salesforce data refreshes them too. And immediately it surfaces to the top of here, highlighted in red so it's obvious. Where's the variance in opportunities? Now I can get this $40,000 fixed. Looks like the issue was, we already changed this. I think in my original data set, before I started this demo, it was showing October 1st, and this had to be changed to September 30th. Maybe the sales rep had a different time zone than I do, something like that, and it got counted in the wrong month that we don't want it in. This is a great time to point out that end of month reconciliation, everyone here on the call, you guys are the unsung heroes of end of month reconciliation, but really it's a team sport. Hopefully you're not alone in this fight. Really you depend on your sales team or your RevOps team to help make sure things are matching up. This is the perfect example. Close date was a day off. That's probably not something that you want to edit directly. You probably want to get the sales rep themselves or their manager or a RevOps person, someone like that, to make this update in Salesforce directly. That's where Coefficient's really powerful and where Excel makes a lot of sense, or Google Sheets. I can actually share this workbook with the sales manager or RevOps. I can have it updating every day, and immediately it'll flag to them if there's some kind of discrepancy like this one. Hopefully you even set this up before the end of the month so that by the time you come in on November 1st, the manager's already made those changes, cleaned up that data, and you're good to go by the first of the month. The second example that you might have seen here, there's another discrepancy. So we also have we're looking at total income. That's off by $500,000, much bigger concern there. And you've probably already figured it out. We have a savvy crowd here, but that is most likely due to this blank section here, where we have indeed $556,000 off. We don't want blank opportunity types. How do we categorize that in our revenue? It doesn't make sense. AEs, sales reps need to be putting in an opportunity type for every deal. Again, it's not something you should clean up, something you might have to ping your team about. Better yet, set up an automated spreadsheet so they can see these before the end of the month and clean it up. This is where I'm going to jump into Google Sheets just for 1 minute, if you'll allow me. I saw in the chat we have some people on the Google Sheets side, and I want to show you a really cool feature that we have on Google Sheets for now, probably coming to Excel soon. That actually makes this cleanup process, especially working with other stakeholders, a little bit better. I'm gonna come in here. This is just a beautiful HubSpot dashboard we have, but that's not the main goal here. We have a HubSpot import coming in, and then most importantly for this use case, I've set up an import here showing Salesforce opportunities again, and I've filtered on only sales opportunities where opportunity type is blank. So AKA anyone that needs to be cleaned up. Better yet, I've chosen fields I want to include. So I include the opportunity owner name and that person's manager's name. So now I can set alerts. This is the feature that's currently only in Google Sheets. But I can send email or Slack alerts to either the sales rep or the sales manager, or it could be someone else, just RevOps, name, email, Slack, whatever. And you can send us on email or Slack as deals come up or on a regular cadence. So the way you do that, you can see we have this automation section, only shows up in Google Sheets. Do a Slack or email alert. And I basically just say, whenever a new row gets added to this import, so now I set this to refresh once a day or once an hour, once a week, whatever. And every time a new opportunity ID shows up in the list of opportunities with no opportunity type, and again, this is only closed won opportunities, I'll choose my data range, and it's going to alert whoever's name is here, send them an email or a Slack message with a list of opportunities they need to clean up. So we'll say whenever a new opportunity ID shows up, we can quickly configure a message here. So this will be kind of like creating a mail merge email, if you're familiar with that. So you can reference variables, which makes it very powerful. You can reference, here are the details for the opportunity name. I can put a link straight back into Salesforce or HubSpot for them to clean it up immediately. And then we can use variables. So probably I would go and find the manager's Slack or maybe the owner's email address, new row J. So now it'll send a different email for each new opportunity to the manager or the owner responsible. I can format this, I can put it in a chart, I can put in emojis, whatever I want, make it fun, make it something they'll actually read and hopefully take action on. Okay. That's what we've got on I just wanted to show that on the Google Sheets side. And again, while we're here, you'll see coefficients up in the extensions menu. Everything else that I've shown in Excel, you can do the exact same stuff in Google Sheets. We'll go back to Excel. I know that's what so many of you came here to see. Okay. We'll go through a couple quick other examples because it's not just Salesforce. Sorry. You can also do similar reconciliation with things like Stripe invoices. Don't have an example set up. This is an import of all of our Stripe invoices for last month. I can do something very similar, set up a VLOOKUP or a SUMIFS to see why is my invoice total not matching. Some of you might be working with inventory data. You can get your Shopify inventory or your Shopify purchases or transactions. For last month, why does that not match up? Do you have a surplus inventory? Get whatever kind of reporting you need for the end of the month from here. SQL imports. Many of you probably have a data warehouse that probably has financial data, transaction data, much more. Here's a little Snowflake example. Looks similar to the other imports. With imports from a data warehouse like Snowflake, again, you have a user-friendly option, kind of like building that Salesforce import where it's drag and drop whatever fields you want to include. But then you also have the option of writing raw SQL queries. So here you can see I have advanced SQL query. I'm looking at some tables, filtering on amount is over 10,000. A lot of powerful stuff you can do there if you're comfortable in SQL or if you have other teammates that are setting up SQL queries for you. Besides these systems, there's so much more. A lot of our customers are also blending this with employee headcount or salary data for last month, currency exchange rate tables, so much more. Anything you can name, Coefficient probably supports it. So reach out if we didn't talk about your tool today, and we'll see how we can help you. Again, we even connect to internal API tools as well. That can be a great use case. Final tip I'll share for end of month specific reporting. So obviously I mentioned you can do refresh every single import in this workbook at once. The other thing that I recommend doing is you're going to want to keep using this Excel workbook month over month over month, set it up once, and then you're done going forward, hopefully. What I typically recommend, once you finish closing out your books for the month, hopefully on the first of the month, maybe the second or the third, I recommend saving a copy of that Excel workbook. So I would save a copy of this one, call it September month end in this case, and then I would never update that one again. I would leave it as it is, so you always have that historical mark from the previous month. And then the current workbook that we're in, this is the one that we keep refreshing over time. So I save that static version, a snapshot as of the end of previous month, and then I just have this current workbook is always basically live for the previous month at any point in time. What works very powerfully with this is if you did want to refresh that copy for some reason, whenever you duplicate a tab that contains a coefficient import, or better yet, an entire Excel workbook. So if I go save a copy up here, now have maybe 10 imports in this Excel workbook, Coefficient will duplicate the settings for all 10 imports along with it. So this can be really nice if you want to quickly create a new Excel workbook. Maybe you built a dashboard, some fancy formulas, financial models in it. You can duplicate that entire Excel workbook and duplicate the connections to all of your data sources, NetSuite and other ones alongside it. And then maybe you change the filters, so you're filtering on a different month or quarter instead of month, or you're filtering on a different sales region or product line or department or account. This can be such a quick way to build. You build basically an Excel template, and then you just change the import settings, filters a little bit, and you got that same template working for other types of data. That is basically everything that I really wanted to show you all today. Thanks so much for your attention. Really, I'll emphasize again, I've only just scratched the surface of even just our NetSuite connector itself. There's so much more you can do in NetSuite, so many more use cases besides month-end close. We're talking about financial forecasting, compensation models, so much else that you're probably doing day-to-day. Anything you can do in Excel or Google Sheets, Coefficient could probably play a role in. So reach out. We'd love to walk you through your specific custom use cases. Again, we have a lot of different industries, nonprofits on the call, so I know you're all doing different things that might not quite align with what I showed today, but hopefully that gives you some inspiration. And then furthermore, if you want to see some of our other connectors, I barely had a chance to show even Salesforce, but also we didn't even touch, QuickBooks, Xero, custom API tools, warehouses. We would love to show you all that on a personalized demo. So definitely reach out if we can help with that. And yeah, with that, we'll jump into question period if anyone wants to either get off mute and ask a question or throw a question in the chat, and my team will surface it up to me, and we'll see how we can help. As you'll see on the screen here, if you want to book a demo immediately, reach out to the team if you want, or if you're ready to go, just scan the QR code or go to that link, and we'll set up a personalized demo. Probably myself or Victoria will be joining to really dig into your custom use cases. Let me just catch up on the chat here and see what questions we got coming in. Does Coefficient leverage AI to help with analysis? Great question. One of the features I didn't have time to get to today. So our most popular AI feature on the Excel side especially has been using AI to write natural language prompts to query data warehouses. So not as relevant to NetSuite, but especially if you're working with Snowflake or MySQL, Postgres, SQL, Redshift, etc. And if you don't want to write SQL yourself, you can write a natural language prompt. So you can say, get me a summary of sales by industry or by country, filtering on deals over $10,000. Very, very powerful. It's become a very popular feature. A bit more we're doing on the Google Sheet side. We're experimenting a bit there and getting some really exciting AI products available. And I'm sure they'll come to Excel soon enough, where you can actually work with what we call Coefficient Sheets Assistant. So it can write formulas for you. You're all probably amazing at formulas, but if you ever have an annoying error in a formula, you can just tell Sheets Assistant, fix this formula for me. Yeah, I think I know nearly every spreadsheet formula in the book, but I still rely on it when I don't feel like digging through and finding that missing comma in a formula. I'll just send it to Sheets Assistant. It takes care of it. It's great. Some of the more experimental stuff we're trying is you can actually use Sheets Assistant as well to build charts for you. Build me a pie chart of sales by quarter. Pie chart's not a great example for sales by quarter, but you get the idea. You also have to build you a pivot table, build you an entire dashboard, do analysis for you, build you a pipeline analysis, whatever it may be. And we're finding as the AI models get better and better, Coefficient Sheets Assistant is doing a really good job of this. Question about data security. So can Coefficient view your data in Excel or Google Sheets? So no, absolutely not. Period. That's what security teams love about us. And we work with a lot of Fortune 100 companies. We have very tight security processes, and we definitely, no Coefficient employee can see that data. We are just that intermediary connector between your source system and your spreadsheet, but we never store or persist any of your data during that time. And how does Coefficient compete with Power BI? Great question. We typically don't see ourselves as a competitor of Power BI. In fact, we have many large customers that use Coefficient in tandem with Power BI. At a high level, this is because besides those AI Sheets Assistant features I just mentioned, Coefficient doesn't generally build charts or dashboards for you. If you're building any of that, you're building it with native Excel or Sheets, charts, pivot tables, and so on, other formulas and tools. What a lot of our customers like doing if they use Power BI is they'll actually use Coefficient, and Excel is a bit of an intermediary. So by that, I mean they might set up one import or usually multiple imports from NetSuite, probably blending it with other systems, creating a final master data set. So probably having VLOOKUPs between the different data import tabs, some complex formulas. People are much more comfortable writing Excel formulas than doing calculations in Power BI. You build something really, really powerful in Excel, and then basically hook up Power BI to that Excel workbook so that your Excel workbook is then refreshing, probably once a day at 5 a.m. But if you want, as frequently as once every hour. And then you have your Power BI refreshing off of that Excel data source. So you have all your calculations, all that hard work happening in Excel. And then our customers will just use Power BI as that final visualization layer where they might build some of those, fancier dashboards and charts that Excel could be a little bit trickier to build on. All right, I think that's all the questions we have in the chat. If anyone else wants to chime in, feel free to, or I'll stick around for a few minutes after. But if not, thanks again so much for attending. Really pleasure for me to be able to show you just a bit of what Coefficient can do to help with your NetSuite and month-end reporting. Hopefully this sparks some inspiration in what else you could use Coefficient for besides just that one use case of month-end reporting. And really, we'd love the opportunity to talk to you and your team about, again, your specific use cases, your specific tools besides NetSuite. How are you already using Excel or Google Sheets, and how can we fit into those workflows seamlessly? Again, our goal is just get you back those hours, days, weeks of time to focus on the more interesting financial modeling, the more exciting work that you all are probably in your roles to do, rather than the mundane copying and pasting, exporting CSVs. Thanks so much for your time. Feel free to reach out to me personally on LinkedIn or email frank@coefficient.io. And I hope you'll book a demo, and I'll look forward to seeing many of you there. Thanks again for your time.